Welcome back. Next up, we're going to make Oyakadon. This dish is so unique. The textures and flavours are unlike any other dish I've ever cooked. So if people at home are complaining about putting up the same old thing every night, then throw this one up and they won't be able to say a thing. To make it, you're going to need chicken breast, mushrooms, an onion, a bit of your seaweed paper from earlier, some mirin or some rice wine, some soy sauce, a couple of eggs, and just some rice noodles. And finally, some miso paste. This recipe normally calls for dashi stock, but rather than going all the effort of making that, it's quite a bit easier just to throw a bit of miso in there. You still get some beautiful flavour from it. To start things off though, we'll get into our onion. So when you're making this dish, you don't have to be too careful or too precise or too fine. You just want to get your ingredients in there. So I'm only going to use half this onion today. And with this onion as well, this gives the soup a bit of body. So you don't want to do any little fine dices. You want it to still have a bit of a shape to it. It also is one of those textures that we were talking about earlier. So in your onion goes. Being a Japanese recipe, you'll notice that I've got no oil in there. We don't really need it because when we add our liquid in a minute, it's going to lift all that off the bottom anyway. So just make sure you keep up your tempo. So next, just some sliced mushroom in there. So normally you wouldn't add mushrooms to this, but because I've skipped the dashi stock step, I'm putting them in there and I really think that they add to the dish. So 1.5 mushrooms, depending on size. And now finally, I'm going to put a bit of our seaweed in here. It's got quite a strong flavour, seaweed, so I don't want to put too much in there. And now for our chicken. So because this chicken is effectively poaching in this, you want to cut it quite small. And this is why I use breast as well, because it cooks a lot quicker than thigh. So nice thin strips in this. And there we have it. This is really quite a healthy dish. So we're not trying to seal the chicken off here or cook the chicken, just in it goes, and then we'll follow that with the liquid. So enough liquid to cover it and then a little bit more. And now, our miso paste. So to this, that's about 10 grams of miso paste. And some soy sauce. Not too much. And finally, just to give it a bit of acidity, we're going to add our mirin. Mirin is used in a lot of Asian cooking, and it's just a rice wine vinegar essentially. And now we're just going to wait for this to come up to the boil. So I'll throw it on high, give it a stir to make sure it's all combined. And I might even throw the lid on just to speed it up. And don't forget, like I did, a teaspoon of sugar. Helps the Oyakadon go down. So now that we've come to the boil, it's looking pretty good. Smelling absolutely magnificent. It's time to get our noodles in. So like most rice noodles, these cook very quickly. And these are going to absorb up all that beautiful liquid that we've made in there. I love dishes like this because they cook so quickly, but they're so packed full of flavour. It's not like when you make a soup and you've got to boil a stock for 2 hours. This is all over and done with in 15 minutes. So because I've got a little pot today, I'm just going to break them in half. So once your noodles are in, chuck your lid back on. Turn it down to a medium heat and we're just going to let those noodles soak up all the goodness. So 2 or 3 minutes later, it's been boiling away and reducing down. It's nice and thick. And you can have a look, it looks absolutely fantastic. We just want to take a little bit of the heat out of it now though, because it's time to add our eggs. So I've turned my burner down to low. I'm going to get my eggs on top. It doesn't matter if your eggs seep around a little bit, but the idea is to keep them on top. So back on the heat, on low, lid goes on. And now this needs a couple of minutes just to cook those eggs. With any luck, you've got a beautiful looking dish, just like this. So what you want to look for is your egg on top. You want it nice and firm like this, and then it should be pretty magical stuff. So to serve it up, try and keep your egg on top if you can. On it goes. It smells absolutely amazing. Bit of the goodness there, and if you do have any liquid in the bottom, just get it on top. But there we have it, a beautiful dish, Oyakadon. Not everyone's heard of this one, but the next one I'm doing, they certainly have. Teriyaki beef, stick around. The first half of the word teriyaki, teri, actually means glazed, and that's exactly what this sauce is going to do now.